Hey, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here in Mendham. Here I am. Go. Anyway, yeah, so the evolving, man, it does evolve. Um, Stuff, the configuration, the arrangement of bullshit, um, the arrangement of even story elements, okay, that defines who I am. And I am going to, you pantomime the story in some way. I'm going to take the crap that's in here, my brain, will arrange crap that it's collected over a lifetime, and try to put it in a shape or form that will do some kind of silver bullet thing. Yeah, it will vibrate at the right, frequency to jitter something, shake something loose in your brain, and cause some sort of little, an idea will pop into a brown peg, will go in a square hole or something. Something will fall into place. And you'll see a little bit further, get a little bit more perspective. Because we're really just talking about, we're standing in a maze, a very big one, that is existence on Earth, and it's all about just describing how it works. And there's tricks, where you can see the bigger picture, by arranging facts in front of yourself, your puzzle pieces, and you put a certain fact there. The worst death you witnessed, the most tragic loss of a friend. The blah blah blah. You put these, arrange this stuff, okay, in this context of the story of evolution, the building of biological machines. And you could put the fact of just thinking about the generations, all your grandparents and grandparents and all the the things that led to you, and how it all, for all of us, it's a big giant pile of ancestry, and then it reduces all back to one fish, that all of us had as our great granddad, kind of thing, great dot 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 dot. Ancestor. So anyway, yeah, so it's just that, this perspective, and figuring out that, there is something to talk about. And I guess it's to synthesize, to put it into as small a package as possible. There's a disagreement among people about how life functions, and you can have the simple agreement that it is something called determinism, that there's no magical bits that happen. I mean, everything I'm saying and every way I'm saying it has all been engineered by my life experience, and whether I had a tragic untied shoe tragedy in my life, or some kind of, I slipped on a banana peel or something else to give my story some kind of different turn, because for the rest of my existence I had some scar, or I had some defect, or I had some limp, and therefore I saw a different maze than you, because I had to stay low, or I couldn't climb the walls, or some kind of bullshit. Anyway, and this basic disagreement among people who agree that there's determinism, and yet disagree about what that means, in terms of the fact that, yes, the future is inevitable, but the fact is we are viewing it progressing. We can see what's happening. So in the video I did use the analogy that you could see Simon Bar Sinister with flaming torch next to orphanage, and you can sort of figure out that, so if we don't change something that's happening, the orphanage gets burned down. Okay, so we can watch, we can watch Rome burning and people playing fiddles. Um, we can see things that are happening, that are starting to happen. We can see the first, we can see the cow in Mrs. O'Leary's barn. And we can see the lantern, and we can, oh yeah, maybe we ought to put that 10 feet away. Um, yeah. So, there's plenty for us to talk about in terms of reacting and how to react, because we can see, okay, the determined future. And we can see what future is going to be because of the circumstances we're allowing to exist. So we know that if we change the circumstance, that is, there's a rusty barrel on the side of Lake Michigan full of dioxin, and we can just do the simple thing of saying, hey, let's put that in a truck and take it as far away from the water as possible. Two things don't mix well, don't they? Let's not do that. So it's not that complicated, an argument, and yet it's an argument. So determinism doesn't mean glib is a great life strategy. Determinism doesn't mean we can't do anything to change anything. None of that's true. Just as determinism doesn't change the fact that if some person can't add 2 plus 2, that is, they can't rape babies, you shoot them, okay? You don't sit there and debate whether it's their fault or not. You just say, too broken. You just say, fuck you. You can't be a calculator on your own because you don't calculate correctly. You don't let somebody, have smallpox and go around hugging and kissing everybody. It's just logical. So it's very scientific. Let's just put that. It's very scientific to understand that if we're watching ourselves read a script that's stupid, and then he turned heading right for the quicksand, and walked right into it. Now, if we see ourselves reading that script, then we just change the script. We just say, oh, wait a minute, no, that didn't happen because I'm not a fool. I'm not that big an idiot. I'm not going to walk into the quicksand. I mean, duh. I'm not going to be a fool, a stoop. I'm not going to, do something really dumb. So clearly, when people are arguing philosophy and they don't think there's anything at stake, which is idiotic. I mean, obviously, there's a ton at stake, and we're watching it, hanging over the barbecue or whatever, and we can choose to turn the rotisserie off and, save civilization, or we can choose to sit there and pretend, it's none of my business, it's not my problem, I got enough candy. You don't have enough candy? Oh, too bad. Should have inherited it. Yeah, should have inherited some money if you don't have any. Really, people are so fucking stupid. Oh, God. Anyway, so that's the circumstance we're in, where we need a lot more people to say people are so fucking stupid. Because, yes, the world is going to shit, and we're allowing shit to run it, and it's just not a good idea. And ultimately, the real progress will be the philosophical concession that, yes, we are just fish with a little extra, we have radar and some extra tools. The fish don't have, this bigger brain thing. It's not so much the size, it's how the size is utilized, and that's, people don't even want to admit that's the truth. It's not about your brain being big, all right? It's about your brain having functions that other brains don't have, okay? Just like a porpoise has the sonar thing, and we have the capacity to do language. So we might have sacrificed a more intense sense of smell or better eyesight or better hearing. We sacrifice some sensual data to be able to do this extra processing, to create language and the ability to talk about concepts, to model the concepts, which animals can't do. They don't go to school. They don't spend 18 years trying to figure out how to model the world they exist in and to understand it. And look how many of us fail. At 18, we're still not ready to be a human being. But part of that is because they don't do the Reader's Digest version. They don't give you the facts. They just let you wallow in a bunch of misinformation and disinformation and try to figure out how to, you know, all this little fake narratives about gods and spirits and souls. You know, all this nonsense about how you're somehow going to evade, you know, all the tragedies, that you're going to somehow live lucky, you know. So much bullshit. Alright, so this last couple of videos provoked by, you know, the modern mystics conversation. Sort of, I think this will be the last of these videos for a little while, because I don't think he's going to make a video conceding that, well, yes, he shouldn't keep talking all this glib nonsense because there's torture at stake. The future is going to be tortured if we don't do certain things to stop the torture from happening. We can see, you know, we can see the evil in the world. We can see the stupidity in the world. We can see all of that. And, we're basically just, you know, driving it to the mayhem store. I mean, we're taking, you know, we're taking the rabble to the you know, let's create a mess, a circumstance. We're what's that simple word for when you're an accomplice? We're an accomplice to the crime, because it's quite visible, and, you know, we're driving the getaway car, however you want to put it. And we can't pretend we had nothing to do with it, because we're watching it happen. We're watching the future be put in jeopardy. We're watching all that, and we can see it. We can see the writing on the wall. We can see the blood on the wall, the blood stains. We know what's going to happen here, so let's not pretend. No, it's just about how am I doing? So, are helping people feel better. Feeling better isn't going to save the future. And, you know, feeling better isn't what, you know, the heroes of World War II were doing. Yeah, so, yeah, it's a real argument about you got to take a stand, and you've got to, you know, play your part. You've got to be able to do at least the minimum, you know, and vote for, let's save the future. Yes, I'll check that box on the ballot. Save the future from unnecessary harm. Yes, I'm for it. You know, that's the minimum you have to do. All right. So, but there is a real argument. So yes, all this talk about silly things like determinism and whether there's a God, well, that conversation should be over in 14 seconds. I mean, you know, it's so. You know, we're not going to debate whether there's dragons or whether Santa Claus exists. So why are we bothering debating about Jehovah or Mohammed or any of this other nonsense and mush and bullshit? And likewise about the free will thing, there's no such thing as, well, whatever free would be, a free idea. You know, there's no, you know, ideas and thoughts aren't free. You have to earn them. You have to earn perspective and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's just bullshit to say I innately knew stuff. You didn't innately know anything. But anyway, all right. So we'll play the video and see what little trigger points we hit and how the conversation goes from there and such. Mouse? I know I have one. Come on. Where are you? Come on, mouse. You have to do your job. Oh, okay, there you are. Jeez. Alright, I'm not really talking to the mouse. I know the mouse can't hear me. That's the least of its problems, right? Not being able to hear me. Feeling my feelings. What I see and what I feel is completely. So the mystics videos are all layered in all this mush about one with the universe, or the universe is universing, and all this stuff that I thought he hated, in the sense that he didn't like Matt, you know, thou art that guy, whatever his name now, Plato something or other. He certainly thought he wasted his brain on mush. But the mystic seems to sit there and sell the same kind of mush. I mean, it's a package of some sort of woo about how there's, the universe is something, and we are a collective of something, and we are the same something. And no, none of those things are true. We're really similar. We have very similar functions. But clearly, we're so frickin' diverse. We can't get along. We can't do anything collectively. We can't agree on anything. I mean, it's huge problems because I can't feel your pain. I can't see what you see. I can't think your thoughts. That's it's just a truth that we are stuck being these trapped individuals that are subjected to their own little soundproof torture chamber, so to speak. And, we have to work at it to even appreciate and understand other people's circumstances. It takes work. It isn't some innate, I know, I can, I feel your spiritual energy. None of that shit exists. Come on. What are you talking about?
Sensations are innately valuable.
See, part of what he's arguing is somehow, yes, it's a deterministic world, so all of this interaction leads to the creation of me, right? So the human race talked this talk, people in the past said this stuff, my parents did certain things, teachers did certain things, all that, and it made me. So what? It doesn't mean it made me on purpose, and it doesn't mean that it constructed me to be a logical or perfect or great machine. So all of it's still open to debate about what the construction exists for and what its purpose is and how well it's functioning. And these are all things we can make these judgments. I mean, his attitude is there's no such thing as an asshole. Well, of course there is. There's idiots and then there's smart people. There's a difference between them. Brains that are well informed and have accurate information in them versus brains that don't. And it matters. It's important to have the right understanding to be able to invent the cure or, properly bake or, anything you're going to do. You have to understand how the machine works to make it go correctly and maintain it. You have to know you have to change the oil in the car, that kind of crap.
Like that, whether we're racist or, whether we are have some notion of superiority because my people just happen.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the context of that is, but obviously we have this psychology, and then we have this intelligence, and the psychology is sometimes screaming one thing, and the intelligence is saying something entirely contrary to what the psychology wants to hear. So it's like this, the selfish ape inside of all of us, and we will try to bend the truth to fit what the ape wants the truth to be, which is I'm a hero, I'm great, I'm this, I'm that. And the real story doesn't justify that perception.
Miseries before he died, but let's just say his life was very... it was an easy one.
All right, so and then it got sort of into just the minutia. Like I could just say, well, let's save a kid from cancer. And then you could just argue that, well, that kid, if he didn't die of cancer at 15, was going to have polio. Or, he was going to have a brain tumor. Well, that's cancer maybe. Something, he was going to be in a horrible accident and have no arms and legs. So it was really great that he died of cancer because he was in big trouble. He was heading for big trouble. It's something you can always cut things into pieces and make a mess out of it. But, obviously we're just trying to talk about a principle that the idea is to leave the condo cleaner than you got it. And there's certain notions of vacuum cleaner and this and this and this that'll do that. And now, obviously, now and then, you could vacuum and your vacuum cleaner has anthrax in it because you didn't know, and you just blew anthrax all over the walls. So you can have unhappy accidents as well as happy accidents, and you can deliberately try to do something and it totally fails because you don't know all the details, you don't have all the facts, and you just didn't know it wasn't going to work. Somebody has they have their car doesn't start because there's a gas leak. You fix the gas leak, but they have a bad tire, and now when they do go in the car, the tire blows up and they all die. You know, that kind of stuff. But it has nothing to do with what we can understand about probability and what likelihoods are. And we have to invest in our best judgment. We're not going to ever have perfect judgment. We just have to invest in our best judgment.
And all they do is open the door to really, really bad stories.
It's just this, the truth is yes, that's all we are. We're all telling the little stories, and the stories are all basically the same kind of story. It's all some sort of heroic thing. It's all something to, some obstacle to overcome. It's like every single movie ever made, every single sitcom, even every single SpongeBob episode. The Simpsons did it. It's kind of a phrase, right? Because all the stories have been told. And all you can do is just change whether it's monorail or elephant driving buses. I mean, it's all just some kind of, you're just changing Romeo's name. I used that as the example, I think, in the video. Well, I used it in the video that never got published. Yeah.
We have a lot more complicated rituals that we have to go through to get our pussy. And we have...
All right, so yeah, we're just fish, but yeah, and we just have these new set of rules that are just, most of them are fucktarded and just traditional nonsense. Just a bunch of wear your clothes and do your hair and blah, blah, all this bullshit. This confining ritual of being a being in the universe, and we can't even do that honestly anymore. We have to create personalities for ourselves, looks for ourselves. We have to be stylish, and all this bullshit. And it's all, most of it is just horrible bullshit, considering we are sailing on the Titanic. And we're all saying, look at the shiny icebergs. I mean, we're seeing it happen. We're watching it happen. Better jump a little further ahead because I'm tired.
Having the right description of our circumstance and reality, what boat we're in, and what the rules of the wind are, and what the world rules of the current is. Understanding the current and the...
Yeah, so all that kind of part of the story, right? So the part of our brain is telling a story about what reality is. The other part's telling some silly story about how great a lover I am and how great at this and how great at that. So part of your brain is telling bullshit stories, but part of it is doing this, let's define our reality. And that part we can argue and do with some kind of strict scrutiny. But unfortunately, people don't want to play that game because they have bad arguments about the reality. So they just keep changing the subject.
In the poker game here is a big pile of torture.
Right. So that's what's at stake. It's just a fact that the future is going to suffer more or suffer less based on what we do. We're building the future. We're the foundation the future's built on. You build on shit, you're going to have shit. And there's every indication we're giving the future shit.
Dynamic capacity of the new modern fish. But we're just fish. And
so, I did keep saying that now. I just said, you say bacteria with brains, bugs with brains. It doesn't matter how you look at it. It's just, the basic elemental function is the bug. All right? It's a bugiverse. It only makes bugs. Okay, that's all evolution can do is produce some sort of monstrosity, some sort of monster, and that's what we are at the base. But we have this beautiful thing, called our intelligence, that can fix all of that. It can civilize a Tyrannosaurus. Intelligence could civilize a Tyrannosaurus, just a fact, and it can civilize us.
Interacting in any way that's useful.
So that's the point, is that we need to usefully interact. We need to spiral the human civilization into right memes and thoughts and ideas being generated and exchanged. And all these naysayers and nitpickers and trolls are doing everything they can to fuck that up, to stop that rational elevation of the human mind, uh, where it can accurately describe its dire circumstance, where it's stuck in a waste engine, where just a horrible amount of conscious sensual pain is experienced for no profit.
Kook. Go ahead and have a family. Go ahead and do these silly things that will, in my
Good old Santino there. So Santino had a story. I only knew part of it. He couldn't really explain how his leg got busted. So I had to sort of make that part up. But he endeavored to persevere. He struggled. He died a few times right in front of my eyes. He had conditions where I said, he's done. I'm just going to sit here and watch, and then I'll go bury him, and that'll be it. But he didn't die. So he's one of those cats that did have 9 lives, and but it's sad. There's just nothing beautiful about the fact that such a nice little creature, would have to limp his way through his whole life, and endure really, all his fur came off once, all kinds of, really nasty shit, and there's just no way to undo that. And the only thing I can't stop my parents from having me, right? Okay, that's done. But I can stop the future from making the same mistake.
It won't happen. We won't save the people who are going to be tortured, okay, unless we do certain things now.
Right. And one of the things we have to do is agree that it's an important task, right? I mean, this is a disagreement. This is like going to World War II or something. It's not that complicated. We really should be able to explain, well, look, there's a bunch of this reckless procreation, a bunch of people that will have no good future. It can be seen. It's happening right in front of us. We can watch the morons. We can see it happening. And it's all not a good idea, so let's do something to stop it. Let's go to the war and get this over with. And that's so much more dramatic than just convincing people to raise their hand and vote. Like that's a hard thing to do. Just say yes when somebody asks you the question, should procreators pay for having kids instead of stealing other people's money to pay for it? Yeah, you say yes. Should there be a penalty for having kids rather than rewards for having kids? Yes, that kind of thing.
Then you're not going to win the war either. So, I mean, the conversation has to go to some level where you're recognizing that the future is a value.
And we have to do this persuasion thing, and so he's obligating me to persuade his gorilla. Okay, he won't allow me to persuade his intelligence that it's a mission worth fighting for. He's saying I have to convince his gorilla that it's in its interest to go to war, and that's not going to happen. And that's really, as I see it, he's fenced off persuasion as being something intelligents do to each other, and basically turned it into something like, I have to somehow change your genetic code to get you to do something. And that's just a cop-out. That's just an evasion.
And it is to fix later. And you certainly can't undo anything.
So I already said that, but and just, come on. It's just, if you people would be honest with yourself and say, I want to live the average human's life, you really don't. So don't, quit arguing that you're defending something real. You're defending something silly. You think somehow the tomorrow people are going to be all better, greater, more fantastic, and it just isn't true. They're going to be wasters, squanderers, and sufferers. And it will be for no profit. To tell a story that's already been told. To just rewrite Romeo and Juliet and just call it Bomeo and Smooliet.
I don't see how an intelligent person can get past the point where your brain, you know, has an anus and it farts. I mean,
it's a mechanical process. It's just brains making people, and our consciousness it just sits here and gets victimized by the person you are. You have to endure watching yourself be you, and then you have to watch all these other retards be them, and go through this arduous task of saying, what the fuck? I have to explain to you not to decide to cut down your tree with a obnoxiously loud chainsaw at 6:30 in the morning because you like the fresh air? Well, fuck you. Too stupid. I mean, come on. The stuff people are doing is just too stupid. Right. That's all there was. All right, anyway. So, it was the first, I did make the video, right, an hour, and then unfortunately I had a technical problem, and the video was a mess. The audio was all broken, so I had to do it over. That's not always a good thing. So I think the first video was better, but regardless, doesn't the concepts, the subjects really aren't substantively changing. I'm just trying to find. It's throwing darts or something. I hit the 30 thing, I hit the 20 and the 10, but I'm missing the 90 and the 100, okay? And so if I keep throwing darts, then eventually maybe I'll hit a 100, and then that will be the video you'll say, what a great video, because I get it now. But yeah, I'm always just throwing it at the same idea, that your life experience should tell you that this isn't some kind of gift, being alive. It's an insane burden. It's difficult to do it right. It's going to be full of, nobody really can get away with singing that My Way song. Life is full of regrets and missed opportunities and failures that you don't even see until you start to get older and older, and you just see what a mess you made out of it. All the wrong turns, not for bad reasons, but wrong turns nonetheless. So come on, life sucks. Quit hyping it. Quit selling this bad drug. All right. Anyway, enough of a video. So till the next time, and such and so forth and whatnot.